Let's have a sip of our hard cider. Ooh, it's still malicious, which is delicious with a little bad intentions, I guess. Lori Daybell. Oh, excuse me. Well, Chad's attorney wants her to be called Lori Vallow again, but they did get married, so, you know, and they did all that sealing. So, till death do you part, Chad. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Lori is back on track because she's competent, as we said last week. What does that mean? She is filing motions, or her attorneys are. What are they filing? Well, number one, similar to a September filing, and the lawyers asking, they want every single interview taken by the FBI, even though the state, I guess, the same, but the FBI did it, we didn't do it, so you need, like, whatever. Apparently, they want everything. I am not sure how much of that is work product versus evidentiary. I'm not sure how that works. I asked Lori Hellis. She may be addressing it this Friday on her podcast. So pay attention to that. It's called Children of Darkness and Light. I would go listen to her. Also, her lawyers, I said her liars, that's not true. Her lawyers are asking for the same thing Chad's lawyers asked, which is a bill of particulars. What is a bill of particulars? It is a detailed explanation of the charges. Basically, it's like saying, yeah, I know you said I murdered somebody, but exactly why do you think I did this? What do you have on me? Now, they've already handed over terabytes of evidence to them, but they want this bill of particulars. Scott Reich said on Crime Talk that he doesn't think they'll get it. I mean, Chad's lawyers asked for the same thing. Basically, it's also a way for lawyers to get a theory of the prosecution. I don't know. I don't think they're going to get it. Why do I think they're not going to get it? Okay. I wrote down a number of dude statements, like things that just I know and you probably know from paying attention. Number one, dude. Why do you think, one of the questions was, how do you know Lori's religious ideas had anything to do with it? Have you paid attention to Lori's anything publicly made statements about how she's a goddess and how, like, Nephi and Liam, what is it, Nephi and Leah, whatever, that she was gonna whatever, and dude, she believes she's a goddess. She thinks she can kill indiscriminately. Why do we think religious things had anything to do with it? Because of her statements that she made. Maybe she shouldn't have recorded podcasts. Maybe she shouldn't have been with her friends telling them how she could kill people if she wanted because she was a goddess. Maybe, sir. So that's in the public domain. They asked about, so why do you think Lori is involved in Tammy's death? Dude, my second dude. Dude. She was the one who used her dead husband's credit card to buy wedding outfits for she and Chad and malachite rings for she and Chad before she was dead. How did she know she was going to marry Chad if Tammy was still alive and healthy at that time? Yeah, dude, don't be, I mean, come on. Why do we think she knew about Tammy and had anything to do with that? Because she was going to marry Tammy's husband, and that wasn't legal unless she was dead. So, all right. Also, why do he asked why are you saying Lori had anything to do with her children's death? Okay, dude. She called her friend and asked her to lie about where her 9-year-old was, her 9-year-old autistic son. She sold her autistic son's helping dog. She put all this stuff in a storage unit. She didn't report him missing. She lied about where her 16-year-old was going to school. She didn't report her missing, but she kept cashing checks and put it in her own account. Dude, that's why. When you don't report your missing children, I don't know, go check out my playlist of all the parents who didn't report missing children. Go ask Adam Montgomery why Lori might be responsible for a conspiracy of knowing what happened to her children and how they ended up in her boyfriend's yard when she failed to produce them under a court of law. Well, she lied to police about where they were. No, you don't need a bill of particulars. You need a bill for the pharmacy to deal with all that. All right. So that's all ridiculous. Now, so they probably won't get a bill of particulars because that's all, I mean, it's plain as the nose on his face. And the motion for the death penalty as being not constitutional. So, personally, I think people should rot in jail forever. I know that's an expense, but I personally couldn't kill anybody. I don't know. I do have one instance where I think it might be okay, which is when people try to overthrow the government and put, like, some horrible person, like, I don't know, killing democracy, like, ruining a whole country for everybody in it, millions of people. That might be one thing I'm not sure about traitors, out-and-out traitors. But you'd have to prove it with beyond a reason of doubt. But only because it would affect our whole entire world and country. But, like, in these crimes, I don't know, man. A lot of these people who kill tend to have messed up lives, messed up minds. Sometimes there's a mistake. I am not for the death penalty. I think you should be in jail. I mean, I think they should have way less nice lives in jail, which maybe that says I'm a horrible person. But regardless, they're in Idaho. They're making this case to a regular sitting judge. He's not, he can't change the Idaho Supreme Court law, whatever. I mean, it would have to go to the Idaho Supreme Court, and depending on what they said, then it would go up to the federal district court, and then to SCOTUS. The whole, like, there are states who have said that the death penalty is unconstitutional because it is, extreme, what is it? This does not help. My words are gone, and it's late. When punishment is beyond the pale, it's like inhuman punishment. I'll think of it later. That is what I'm talking about. So, but I don't think that's going to, I mean, I agree with that, but I don't think that's going to fly in Idaho no matter what, and it has nothing to do with this judge. So I think he's going to deny it, and it's just a marker for appeal, which they have to do, and it's part of, I mean, that's what good lawyers do, and I don't blame them for doing any of this. They are being very good lawyers. She is getting good representation, even though it is publicly funded through the Public Defender's Office. She is getting great representation, and I think they're doing everything. They are being fictitious supporters and defenders for her rights. I just think some of this is bull hockey, but that's my opinion. And they are right for doing it. I think Judge Boyce is going to deny all of that. And then I think later on they'll appeal it. Okay, our 9th case. Let's drink to Alex Murdaugh. Maybe he has a shot in hell of beating this murder case. Why do I say that? All right, so first let me tell you what happened to his buddy, Russ Lafayette. Russ is going to jail forever and ever. He got found guilty on all his charges. So maybe he now is going to be in a position to rat out Alex as much as possible to try to reduce it. I don't even know. He's in jail forever. So that was good to see the justice system work in the Low Country. But I don't know. Is the Low Country good old boy system trying to cut out Alex and make sure he's cut out so that they don't also go down with the ship? Are they sacrificing him? I wonder. Why do I wonder? Well, what we found out this week was that, do you remember hearing all about the high velocity spatter on Alex's shirt and how it proved that he was standing next to Maggie or Paul at the time? Okay. Interestingly, that first information was leaked, and that leak was to Fitz News. Fitz News was the independent news station that both Mandy Matney and Liz Farrell left because of they had some disagreement with how to run journalism ethically. So was this the reason why? I don't know if this is why they parted ways with Will. Maybe. But what I do know is somehow Fitz News got the information from an insider at SLED that this test had come back positive for these like 100 points of blood and blah, blah, blah. But let me just tell you, Jim Harpootlian and his co-counsel have put the court on notice that that evidence should be thrown out. Why? And I kind of, if this is true, I agree with them. This is kind of scandalous. First of all, the person that they hired as the expert isn't like a doctor or, I don't know, I was listening to, who was I listening to? I forget which channel, but I think it was Scott Wright, who knew of this person who was noted as being the expert, and he said, yes, that's a person that you can call to get like expert legal witnesses. But apparently when the expert first made their assessment, they said, no, that wasn't blood splatter. And this high velocity blood splatter is actually not well documented. It isn't well accepted as evidence in the field. I don't know if it's new or if it's on the outskirts, but I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert on that. But then apparently what happened was SLED had a little talk with the expert, and then the expert came back and did another test and said, oh, we found 100 points of blood splatter. But the test that they did made the shirt, it stained it all with the product that they used to find it. And now the defense can't test it, and they can't prove what this supposedly is saying. So the fact that at first the expert said, no, it wasn't blood splatter, and then after talking to SLED, oh, yes, this is definitely high velocity blood splatter, and the fact that that science isn't one that's totally accepted, but that change from isn't and is with in between it talking to, you know, SLED, which is like the state's law investigative people. And then they used what I could only be described as a consumptive test. Now, do you remember us talking about consumptive testing? I believe you have, because it was all, we've talked about it over and over again with the Lori Vallow-Daybell test. Both the prosecution and the defense had to agree that there's something in the evidence that they only have enough that if they test it using this test, it would consume the whole piece of evidence. Now, the state got the evidence, so it's the state's evidence, but because they have to share evidentiary discovery, especially if it could be exculpatory, which means showing that the person is innocent, they have to share it with the defense. They can't just do something and then go like, they can't just do that. Oh, sorry about your luck. So, and this seems to have been consumptive testing after a first non-finding and then a positive finding, but oh, it's consumed, so, and nobody was told. I'm not sure where the truth lies. Obviously, there's two sides to every story, you know, their side, the other side, and then the truth in the middle, which, you know, whatever. But that doesn't look good. What is going on in South Cackalack? I can see a number of things. Like, obviously, it seems like Alex did a lot of down and dirty, naughty, very naughty financial crimes. But did he kill his wife and child? Or has he been set up? Or what? And at this point, murkier than the Mississippi, which is nowhere near South Cackalack, but murky. I don't know. I can't tell. I mean, his financial crime should put him away for life anyways, but this murder obviously is death. I mean, does somebody want to shut up Alex? Is Alex going to go down so the good old boy network can keep on rolling away in South Cackalack? I could see it both ways. I don't know. Are they cutting him loose and letting him go down so that nobody else goes down with him? You know, like how you cut fit, what's it called? Cut bait? Or is this just another smoke and mirror, like good defense, but not really, because I don't know. All I know is that you should never have evidence that you destroy before the other side gets to see it. That never works out. I mean, it seems sketch. I don't like it, especially when, I don't know. So that is going to be something to watch. So, yeah, that's the issue 1 I wrote, was the initial finding that was made by an expert brought in, who's first said, you know, there was no evidence of blood, and then after meeting with Sled, changed his mind, and that, and the second issue is that I'm not sure about the science. And Lori Hellis did a great video on her channel about evidence being junk science, or maybe science that's in infancy and not as reliable, it hasn't been repeated and accepted widely. That is something that's, I think, important to discuss when we talk about any of these cases, because all evidence is not created equal. And the third issue, which I wrote was very important to discuss, was that now as the defense is asking for the evidence, they're being told, sorry, it was ruined in testing. So now it's no longer available to be tested by the defense. And yes, that we know that when we have consumptive testing, everybody should be notified. And I talked about that it's apparently, this information then was also given to this news site to be put out immediately, that he was guilty and there was this evidence, obviously. I don't know. Something wackadoodle is going on in South Cackalack. The Low Country is still mysterious and murky. Well, I'm going to be watching Mandy Matney, because she's the investigative journalist with Liz Farrell. I still trust them. I'll be watching her channel on YouTube called The Murdaugh Murder Podcast. It's everywhere. There's like one on HBO and whatever, but trust me, if you really want to know, go watch the whole series that Mandy Matney did. The Murdaugh Murder Podcast. You won't be sorry. She covers it, I think, very fairly. She is my main squeeze source on this. But I do think that the network in the South is so crazy that I wouldn't be surprised to find out that, yes, he did all these financial shenanigans. Yes, he was involved in drug running, but he didn't kill his family. But he's going to go down for that too, so that they can get rid of him altogether and blame everything on him. And then everybody else is clear and free. Again, my assumption, my speculation, maybe I watch too much TV. I've read one too many John Grisham novels, admittedly. All right, and then the George Wagner case is still going on. If you're interested, they're in closing arguments now. I'll let you know what the end of it is. The biggest thing to come out this week was that the prosecution accidentally put up crime scene photos when they were just talking about the victims as people, and it was like gory and shocking, and it seemed to be an accident. And I don't know if that was to make up for the fact that they didn't have a whole lot of evidence just on George, except we know George was part of the family and the family did everything together, but George was looking pretty good. So was that a last oops to remind people of what actually happened here and that he knew about it and didn't talk? I mean, he did seem to know all about it. He didn't seem to tell, which, as we talked about before, makes him an accessory to murder, which makes him just as culpable. I think they'll find him guilty. It's just it is a FUBAR situation, and if you know, you know, beyond belief. The docket, so if you want any actual documents, follow, his name is Big E Eric, but he goes by the docket at Chasing Papers 89 on Twitter. Definitely a good source to follow. And Pretty Lies and Alibis, Gigi, she knows all about this case. And Angelette Levy of the Law and Crime Network. And in fact, they've had a discussion that you can find, I believe, on Pretty Lies and Alibis, where they all talked about the case. But they're all covering it together, and Pretty Lies and Alibis is putting out a video every day about the trial. And that's who you need to follow, because that's who I follow to catch up with it. All right, you guys, that was a very long catch-up. of over a week since November 20th, really the night of the 19th, very late into today, which is Tuesday. Hopefully nothing broke while I was talking to you. And I will see you next week. True Crime Grapevine. Remember me, Patty Lee, your dyslexic armchair detective. I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a thumbs up. If you would, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. I would really very much appreciate it. And even though there's too much crime and not enough time, I will see you with a drink and a bunch of cases we can, unpack together next week. Bye.